Please welcome Karis with her speech this morning. How well are you listening?
Thank you, Toastmaster Stephanie, and welcome guests. Joey, it's great to have you. Have you ever been in a conversation where another person is physically present but seems to be mentally somewhere else? Perhaps you've shared something important, maybe intimate, only to be met with a nod, a distracted maybe even worse, an inappropriate response or deadpan silence. As a coach, I've learned the value of the gift that we can give by truly listening and having somebody else felt heard and understood. Active listening is not just about hearing the words. It's about understanding and connecting. It's creating a safe space, like Stephanie said. It's the impetus of connection. Today, I'd like to share some of the active listening techniques that can be used throughout our everyday conversations and that I use as a coach. It's changed how I relate to my clients, but more importantly, it's brought me closer together to the people that I love most in the world. So, we're going to learn about three different types: competitive listening, discovery listening, and empathetic listening. And don't worry, we're going to have a little bit of fun along the way. So let's start with the elephant in the room: competitive listening. We've all done it. Admit it. When you're talking to somebody in order to respond, preparing what you're going to say instead of truly listening. Maybe you're thinking, how can I top their story? I've been in that situation. I know exactly what they need to do. Maybe you just don't really even care. You're going to pass over and change the topic. How does the other person feel? Now, competitive listening actually can be exceptionally useful in a debate when you're battling back and forth between somebody else. It's also really great for other areas. Maybe you've got to have a rebuttal to somebody.
Karis,
But
I'm not really comfortable with that title, that competitive listening. I like the notion of engaged listening or being one with the speaker. Like maybe, I think you should change the language that you're using because I think it's deeply offensive. I mean, not to me, but to other people in your audience that, rather than competitive listening, engaged listening, bring your positivity to it because we have to be engaged. And if I'm not listening to what you're saying so that I can respond and think about it, I'm not competing with you. I just want
well,
to be one with you.
Freddie, what a great point. And so I want to bring up a couple of things. One, you've done a beautiful illustration of the example of what competitive listening is. The second thing is we can actually rename something if we have offense to it so that we can connect to it. It's not so much the name that's really important of what we call it competitive listening, engaged listening. It's the essence of what that is that's important. So thank you for bringing that up. And a topic I'd love to chat about a little bit later. Now, getting back to what I'm going to refer to as competitive listening, is it actually has its place. You can debate like we just did, Freddie. But instead of preparing what your response is, what you lose is the act of truly listening. We have two ears and one mouth. We should be doing twice as much listening as we are doing talking. So my key takeaway from this is really when you recognize that you're slipping into that competitive listening as opposed to really truly being engaged in listening, it's sit in and think about it. What is that person saying? How do I feel about it? And really connect instead. Take a breath, refocus what your response is going to be, and try to understand the other's point of view. Now, next up, we have discovery listening. One of my most memorable experiences as a coach was getting involved with a client who was on the verge of burnout. She assured me she was fine, but her tone, her posture, her nonverbal language was actually telling me something quite different. She was sighing in between all of her sentences. She was rolling her eyes. She was shaking at some point in time.
Sam,
And if I
are you
hadn't
free
actually,
for lunch tomorrow? Sam? Can we get together for lunch tomorrow, Sam?
as I was saying, that or the discovery listening that I was doing, truly focusing and tuning in, ignoring those little whispers that our voices are telling us, to be able to say, hey, what is it that she actually needs? And so discovery listening is really about tapping in to listening beyond the words and asking, what does this person need? It's uncovering the hidden truths that might be happening for that person. In response, what works really well is asking open-ended questions, listening, and then digging in. One of the questions that I asked her is, what's coming up for you right now? And in that moment, that beautiful moment, she felt heard. And there was almost a sigh of relief. And she's like, oh my God, Karis, you're right. Let's talk about it. So the key takeaway here is in your own conversations, practice being fully present, not just listening with your ears, pay attention with your eyes, listen with your heart.
That
You know,
works
Karis,
really well when someone's getting really angry
yeah.
too, because like you have someone that starts yelling at you for no reason, or they're just getting
Oh,
overly frustrated. And if you just stop and ask them, hey, are you doing okay? Sometimes you can end up with like a complete emotional breakdown. I've seen it happen before where someone seemed completely enraged and they were ranting, and then, you just stop and take that moment to almost take a
Mhm.
breath for them, and then they just, it completely changes everything because they feel like they've been seen and heard, and it could be really fabulous. I
Yeah.
remember one time with a student that happened. She was kind of acting out in class, and she wasn't, really participating. And then we stopped, and we just at a moment that was appropriate, we kind of pulled her to the side and just asked if anything was going on that she wanted to talk about. And she ended up,
Stephanie,
yeah, yeah.
you know what? I love that you've been there. You truly understand the importance of discovery listening. Now, I pulled you off to just say, what's one tip that you would give everybody else in this room that helps you be in discovery listening mode?
It's curiosity. So rather than
Mm.
thinking, like you taking it
Y-
personally, it's I wonder what's going on with them. I wonder what happened to them before I ran into them today.
That's amazing. I know you've got discovery listening down in spades. And thank you for illustrating such an important component. In that moment with the person that you were engaged in that conversation, you noticed the things that weren't being said, and you cared enough about that other person to take them aside and say, hey, what's up? That's discovery listening, which is our second component of listening. Now, one step even further is what's called empathetic listening. So it's not just listening with your eyes, it's listening with your ears. It's also adding the heart. And that's the
Oh, poo
impetus.
smoo, woohoo. What a bunch of caca. There's nothing that helps with that. Everybody goes on their own tyrant, doesn't listen or say anything they mean. They're constantly wrong.
I hear where you're coming from. It doesn't feel great when you're not feeling heard, does it?
No, but whatever. Nobody cares. Nobody listens. They do what they want. Just continue on their merry little way.
When you are in that mode of really deeply caring about, and I want you to think of the person that you care about most in the world. When you are listening to them and you are in that space with them, how are you feeling?
Just fine. Fine.
Just fine.
Just
And
fine.
that's often enough. You're being in connection with them. You're sitting there with them. And that is what empathetic listening is about. It's being fine with them. Thank you for illustrating that. I appreciate it. Even more so, as we're getting into empathetic listening, it is the power of presence. When I first began coaching, I was really eager to solve problems. Clients would describe what was happening to them, and I would jump in with my own solutions. But what I didn't realize is that people don't actually want to be coached and given all the answers. They really want to dig through and find clarity for themselves. And that's when I truly learned how to empathetic listening. It's not about waiting for your turn to talk or even mentally rehearsing the response. It's turning into the emotions. To sit down and say, I'm sitting with you. I'm truly trying to understand. I may not be sympathetic and be able to really truly relate, but I might have been there. It's about connecting with that person on a deep level. It's letting them know.
But Karis,
that
what if you really don't care? I mean, truly,
that's a great
have you
point.
listened to the world's most boring person and going, would you please just shut up?
Right? And so, Freddie, what do you do in those moments when you don't care, but you know you got to listen to somebody?
I take a real quick exit.
Man, you know what? I am very fortunate that you care enough that you're not taking a quick exit right now. I love that. So what you're telling me is just by that moment, you're in either discovery listening or, oh, maybe not. All right.
Well,
So
you do have some good points.
well, I appreciate that. And so that means a lot. But I can almost, I'm going to hazard a guess that others in this room think that there's some value in what I'm sharing. Can we get a hand raise? Yeah, love that. So, Freddie, what I want to do is I want to invite you to sit and listen with both ears and open that heart so that we can share it with the entire space. And let's chat more at the tailgate after 8 about this, because I want to hear your point of view. We've talked a lot about 3 different types of listening. Competitive listening. You've even seen a few demos of that today. We might have planted those people in this space, so thank you to those individuals. We've heard about discovery listening.
Tomorrow in Pincher. Sam and I are going. Do you want to come?
Yes.
Awesome.
Come, please.
Oh my goodness.
What time works for
Hey,
y'all?
Jill,
Yeah.
I want to come too. Can
Perfect.
we chat about this? Can we chat about this at the tailgate after 8? I'm almost done. I promise.
You bet. And we can talk about this tomorrow too. Woohoo.
Wait, thanks. We've talked about discovery listening, tuning in with your ears in order to listen to respond. Pardon me, not listen to respond. Listen with your heart. And then we've talked about empathetic listening, which is truly listening with all aspects so that other person can really truly feel that they're heard and understood. Active listening is more than a skill. I've learned as a coach how transformative can be, not just for my clients, but for me personally as well. It's deepening empathy, it's strengthened my relationships, and it has taught me to be truly present. So the next time you're in a conversation, I want you to be present. Listen with your heart, listen with your mind, and go beyond the words. Embrace the silence and reflect back to what you've heard. Whether you're engaged in competitive discovery or empathetic listening, know that the way that you listen can change conversations, and even more important, they can change lives. Thank you. Back to you, Toastmaster.